guys, this is my video on the sign cutting stick. So what is a sign cutting stick and what can it be used for? So basically it's going to be a tool that a tracker can use to assist them when tracking. It's a light, durable stick, about 40 inches long, and it's going to have some markers on it, at least 2, so we can measure the stride, and we can use it to find different signs, different tracks when we're searching for a subject. According to the fundamentals of Mantracking text, the sign cutting stick, it causes the tracker to look where you want to be looking instead of everywhere else. And it also states that when it's used properly, it can make things pop out of thin air, almost things that you would never notice otherwise. It helps you focus on the areas you need to be looking at instead of everywhere else. So basically, just what it sounds like. It's a stick. How can we make one? Basically, we just need a 40-inch stick or longer if you want to be longer. Mine's about 46 inches. I got a good grip and handle here. Something a little more comfortable for you to hold on to. What you need is, like I said, some markers. It can either be rubber bands, O-rings, anything like that, or we can put it on here and be able to move them if we want to, but so they can also stay in place if we need to, so we can mark those stride distances. It's very easy to make, doesn't take a lot of time, no money at all really, as long as you have some rubber bands or something you can use. I use zip ties, that kind of work well for me. I found a way to make it useful. But yeah, you do that and then you got yourself a sign cutting stick. So it's very important to trackers, as we mentioned, because it's used as a pointer. So that way you can find where the next sign or the next track is expected to be. Additionally, it also helps train the eyes to look for small details and signs that aids in the tracking process when you're trying to find a subject. How can we use it? So basically we're going to do a demonstration. I've got some tracks on the ground here that we made a while ago, and we'll look at those in a moment. But basically there's 2 uses for it. So sign cutting, obviously, since it's a sign cutting stick, is what we're going to use it for, is one use. Sign cutting is defined as the act of looking for sign in order to determine a starting point from which to begin tracking. Sign cutting, it requires a slow, careful, and visual sweep within a 2-3 stride area, looking for signs, whether that be clothes, whether that be an actual track itself, or anything that was left behind that we may be able to use and identify to help us track the subject. And then the next way is going to be the step-by-step process that's used in tracking, which is the stride-based. So basically what we're going to be doing is measuring a stride of the person we're tracking. And how we're going to do that is using these markers that I've talked about. So here we have a track in the ground. We're going to be placing our marker at the rear of the first track we find, and then here we have another track so we can mark the rear of the second track, and there we have a simple stride distance. Well, now we can move to each stride trying to find the next one, and how we're going to do that is, like I said, this marker is going to be at the heel of the last track found, and then we can sweep from a 10 o'clock to a 2 o'clock and looking at the tip of our stick trying to find that next sign. So fortunately for this one, we're going to be finding our next step right here at 2 o'clock. We can move up, do the same thing, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and fortunately we found our next step, 10 o'clock. So on and so on. We can keep doing this, and fortunately we're going to keep finding our next sign. Now, unfortunately, if you're trying to evade the tracker, then you may be altering your strides or your steps, or you may even be covering up your sign, and this may not be as useful. But hopefully this person that we're trying to find has not done that. We can use the sign cutting stick effectively, trying to find that next sign, that next step. So that's basically your 2 uses for the sign cutting stick. There's other obvious uses, whether it just be moving things out of the way as you're going through the woods, or as kind of a support system when you're going up and down a hill or a mountain, whatever you may be able to use it for in that aspect. Another thing to consider when you're using a sign cutting stick and tracking is light. So how does light affect Mantracking? Basically, so light, when it's at the right angle, when it's at the right location, it can be a tracker's best friend. Early in the mornings or late in the afternoons are going to be your best times because the sun is at a lower angle in the sky. It's providing more light to the ground, to the area that you're trying to see things at. During midday, not ideal at all, very difficult to track, is what the text tells us when we read over that. And then it also talks about nighttime tracking. And surprisingly enough, nighttime tracking is actually easier, one of the better times to track, a matter of fact, because the tracker is able to use his own light, place that light wherever he needs to, and be able to look where he needs to look, not having to rely on the sun being just right. It also is helpful to track at night because you have darkness around you. So the sun is not lighting up everything. Your eyes aren't wandering. You're not distracted by all the things in the woods or whatever area you may be tracking. So the darkness provides you with kind of a solace the way you'll look where you need to be looking. Also helping you focus, just like the stick is, focus on the areas you should be looking at, not wandering everywhere else. Yeah, so as we stated, the light's the greatest advantage when it's just right in the right location. And hopefully when you're tracking, you can face the sun when possible, because that's going to be most beneficial to you. And cut at a 90-degree angle when you're looking for things is what the text tells us to do. That makes it easier when you're traveling, your direction of travel, cutting at that 90-degree angle, looking for signs, looking for tracks, and things such as that. Obviously, we are not experts. This little brief overview we've done, the reading on Mantracking, it hasn't made us professionals, but the great thing to note is that we have been able to hopefully become more track aware through this process, through this reading that we've had, which will help us identify things when we're searching, going on searches and trying to find a missing person or someone that is lost. So thank you for watching, and I hope it's been informative.